Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. This is the first video I've made on the Moony channel, as you can see, and I'm planning on making this a regular thing. For those of y'all that don't know me, I'm part of the Planet X community. I'm a mod in Area 55 on Discord with my friend Starport, and I had this idea for the longest time of like doing like speed builds, making something like a bit of a digital diary, if you will, of things that I've built, so I could look back at the process, and hopefully years down the line look back and see how much I've hopefully improved. For those of y'all that don't know, I have been playing Planet Coaster since it came out in 2016, and I've just recently, I like to say for the past few months or so, really gotten into Planet Zoo. It was gifted to me when it came out in 2019, I believe it was. But I finally got a computer set up, like good enough that it ran, and I decided to just jump into it and give it a shot one day. Little did I know, I was gonna literally fall head over heels for it. And I've been playing so much of it, I thought, well, might as well make some content out of it. I don't see anybody else like me doing it, might as well. So today, for our first bit, content creator memento, I'm starting a new zoo for the channel. This is Wyoming Zoo. So, think the most North American zoo possible is the vibe that I'm really going for. Doing research into the different, major nature areas in the US. I am American, yes, but I don't know all of the specific nature reserves and everything. So I was doing research, as any good builder should, in my opinion. And I found I feel like just the Yellowstone, or not Yellowstone, what am I talking about? The Yosemite. No, Yellowstone. I'm going crazy. The Yellowstone whole area national park moment we have here in Wyoming. Not here in Wyoming, I don't live in Wyoming, but that we have here in the US. I didn't find it very well represented. On top of that, my partner is from, he's not from Wyoming, but he lived there for a very, very long time. So I knew going into this that I really wanted to not only pay homage, because he's been a little homesick lately, but it also has a plethora of inspiration behind it. There's so many reference images of Yellowstone, and you look around and see how pretty it is. And it also very nicely narrowed down the types of animals that I wanted to have and showcase. So, this is my first habitat I'm building in Wyoming Zoo. This is for the American bison. So, full transparency, this was actually supposed to be a joint habitat of bison and pronghorns. Because I calculated ahead of time, what exactly, how much space they would need for both full-size herds that I had planned to share this space. As I really wanted, the pièce de résistance, big, plainsy looking out area, to really be, the eye-catcher of the park, the icon, everyone knows Wyoming Zoo for, their plains habitat. So that's why I built everything so big initially. Like you can see here, I'm putting in so many food trays, so many beds. I made the whole back portion one giant barn. Because I thought there were going to be, I think in total, 26 animals in here? But when I put the bison in, I don't know what it is. It might just be crazy, but it looked like it was barely the perfect amount of space for my bison alone. I felt like if I added more animals, because I have a herd of 15 bison in here, which is, a lot, but I was going to put 11 pronghorns in here as well. And of course, speaking game-wise, it was more than enough space for them. Because I think this habitat ended up being about 44,000 square feet, and the game said I only needed about maybe 32, something like that. But then looking in, I didn't want my babies to be cramped, to look like they were crammed in there. Because whenever I play this game, I always get so attached to my animals. They're all my babies. So I genuinely want the best for all my babies. As crazy as that may sound. I mean, if anybody else shares the same kind of personal connection with your animals, comment below. I need to know I'm not the only one in this world. So all my friends call me crazy for it. So yeah, we have just a very, very big, I think it's the perfect size, habitat for American bison. As you can see here, I am setting up this whole rock grotto situation. I love these aquatic rocks. Simply Savannah put me onto this, watching her playthroughs. Go follow her if you don't, because she's incredible. She turned me on her, and what is his name? Caesar Creates, I believe is his name. Follow him as well. Polish guy, he's an incredible builder in Planet Zoo. They really put me onto the versatility of these aquatic rocks. Because initially, when I first started building the game, I just used like the appropriate like continent and like biome rocks, and I don't know. I think that these just look a lot nicer, and they do have like a man-madeness to it that I think adds to the realism. For those of y'all that don't know me, I am very, very big into realism in all of what I do in both Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo. So as you see here, we had a little bit of a cut that it was added my bison. Oh, aren't they so cute? And as you can see here, I'm really trying to push forward the lush forest aspect of the national parks we have here in the US. And also try to keep in mind that like I want to not break necessarily too much break the immersion that we're in a zoo per se. But I do want to keep a more natural element. I want to make sure my babies have enough space to roam free, because if y'all haven't seen bison in real life, it's incredible. They're stampeding creatures. From what I understand, they don't have very good eyesight, so anything can startle a stampede, but when you see them, it's breathtaking. As you can see earlier, I did have to delete a lot of like food trays and everything because I was initially keeping in mind having all sorts of animals, and I didn't want necessarily like the bison to get in the way of the pronghorns. Before halfway through, I just realized, oh crap, yeah, no, this isn't gonna work. Like, I mean, it could work, but I want to make sure my babies have all the space imaginable that they want. So yeah, I think it's like the perfect amount of space for them because they are very large. Like if you've been near one, they're about 6 feet tall. So they could be a little intimidating. Like you don't want to get in the way of them, if you can help it. So yeah, as you see here, terrain paint just helps everything come together along with foliage. I really wanted to imply that like the bison have like made their own trails and everything in their habitat to like make it feel more like their own home. So yeah, so this path section I set up to actually be an indoor lodge. So this lodge, you know, I love to use reference images for almost everything I do. Or if not reference images, just references I have in my head, because this habitat in particular is actually based off of the oxhoof, I believe it's oxhorn. The oxhorn habitat I saw in Point Defiance Zoo in Tacoma, Washington. So it was basically a giant hill with like a viewing bunker at the bottom. And I don't know why I was obsessed with that idea for hoofstock. And I thought because I'm making an American zoo, I might as well, I mean, this is like the perfect opportunity to do that. But I wanted to elevate it, literally. So I have this viewing lodge above ground. And I think it adds just the right amount of space away from the water and the bison that we don't need to be adding all this crazy fencing and stuff around like the glass viewing area. My design philosophy for a lot of what I build in Planet Zoo is like I want to build my habitats in a way that super like aggressively like in your face fencing and barriers aren't always the most necessary. I want it to feel as natural as possible for my babies and also for the guests as well. So I am not a zoo expert. I don't claim to be a zoo expert. I am just a woman that has found herself really digging Planet Zoo. Because the thing is, I played a little bit of Zoo Tycoon when I was younger, and I do remember really enjoying the zoo aspect of Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. I don't know why it took me so long to like really get into this game, because I had a lot of practice building in Planet Coaster. I didn't think it was going to translate that well into Planet Zoo, but I was sorely mistaken. I just like feel so much freedom with this game, and it adds a personal element to me taking care of my animals, because it gets me personally invested into wanting to care for them as if they were actually my own, as if I was actually in charge of keeping for them. So as you can see here, I'm adding my front facade, signage, and everything. This lodge idea was actually based off of somewhere I went. I forget if it was like a museum or something. I was on vacation in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, and they had like a Native American, what was it? Was it a Choctaw museum of sorts? It was like this giant lodge that was like elevated above the ground that had like artifacts in it. They had like pottery, but it also had like this big window vista area looking out into like this creek. And it was like fall time at that time as well. It was so pretty. But at the time, you could actually see animals from the window area. So it was basically like one giant viewing gallery. But you could kind of see, I don't even remember what animals were over there. I just remember being shocked and like totally like taken aback. It was just so pretty. So that was my main inspiration for this. I mean, considering nature-wise, Wyoming and Oklahoma have a lot in common, and especially aesthetically speaking, the buildings that people have made there for certain things like wilderness lodges, national parks, yada yada yada. I thought it was going to be a perfect fit for this, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. I don't know if y'all noticed, but I am using the Australian collection, the Australian DLC pieces for this. I really want the idea for this zoo as a whole to be really, like, everything was built out of recycled materials. Because if you, for those of y'all that don't know, there is no, like, actual official, like, Wyoming zoo. But I have a feeling if the people, like the National Wildlife, whatever people, were actually in charge of building something like this, having a big focus on preservation, conservation, and like eco-friendliness would probably, I imagine that'd probably be a really big focus. So I really love the aesthetic of like having recycled materials, recycled wood, this recycled metal, glass only where it's needed. Like I really like I don't know if y'all noticed at the base of my building lodge here, I was using it kind of looks like, I don't even know what they're called. It kind of looks like shipping container houses. Like you cut up shipping containers and you put it on the side, use it for walls and stuff. I really like this aesthetic of like the metal meeting the wood, meeting the glass into like this natural scene that's like pretty I don't want to say detached from my babies, but it gives them plenty of space where they could just go about going on and not have to necessarily worry about people being all up in their space. I really like that. And I think this is going to be the aesthetic continuing through the rest of the zoo. I have not started any of like the entrance area or anything. I find my process really like creatively speaking, I like really take off. Like if we're thinking about this like as an essay, I find like I take off really well when I start in the middle of the essay. Start with the meat, figure that out, and then everything else will fall into place to make it cohesive. Oh, pardon me, is kind of the thought process. So I'm adding all of the wood trim known to man. These are the Arctic wood pillars. I have a feeling we're going to be using these a lot because they're so good. I'm putting up info, signs, seating everywhere. Trying to do like this like wilderness lodge, like Grand California Hotel type of like beaming on the roof and everything. Because looking up, I thought the roof was just a little too naked for my liking on the inside. I had to want at least a little bit of zhuzh, not too much. just the right amount. You know, I don't want to think of this zoo as like necessarily a budget zoo, but they aren't trying to. I'm thinking from the zoo's perspective. They probably wouldn't want to be using all the most extravagant materials known to man to show and educate people about the different wildlife in Wyoming. So as you see here, I had to make a custom floor. I think I might go back and change this floor. I don't know. For the moment, like in the moment, I was like, okay, it's cute, you know, whatever. I'm like happy with it. But then looking back, I don't know. I need to like let it digest with me a little bit. Adding all sorts of wood trim all around the building. I wanted it to be super cohesive, so whenever this zoo is put on the workshop, because this will be put on the workshop, and I'll also be linking my Steam workshop as well as my Instagram, my Twitter, and my Twitch channel all in the description if y'all are interested. For those of y'all that don't know, I am a drag queen part-time. So I'm going to be streaming in drag, and my drag accounts are all going to be linked in the description as well for those of y'all that want to support queer artists, want to support a trans artist, or just have any kind of interest in supporting me as a person. All of that information will be linked down below. I did want to, not only to fill up a little bit of time, but because this is like, I genuinely find learning about these animals interesting, and it helps me gain a better like appreciation for them. I do have some facts and fun trivia about the American bison. So for those of y'all that don't know, American bison largely remain in the northwest. Oh, why am I not moving here? Oh, anyway, they are largely in the northwestern United States and Canada. So I'm taking this info off of the Smithsonian National Zoo website for American bison. They are the largest terrestrial animals in North America. They are considered mammals. Bison, like I said earlier, I was right, yeah. So they have a wonderful sense of hearing and smell, but cannot see very well, so an entire herd can stampede if it's startled. I would not want to be there for that. I mean, such large animals, you can get trampled if you're in the way. I've heard a lot of stories, I've seen a lot of news headlines about people getting trampled by bisons. That's not too surprising. They also are heavy shedders. They shed their heavy winter coats in the spring, rolling on the ground to loosen their hair, which falls off in gobs. So anybody that has a cat, I know, can absolutely relate to this. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me here today on this episode of Wyoming Zoo. I am so excited for this new journey I'm embarking on. I've always had the idea of doing speed builds and stuff, and for a little bit, I don't know why I was holding out. I thought maybe the notion would pass or something, but I just want to like put myself out there. I don't see a lot of people playing this game that are like me. As you know, a queer trans woman, I don't see a lot of people like me in the Planet Coaster scene, in the Planet Zoo scene, in the content creation side of things anyway. And the way that I know people like me have been treated thus far in the community, I think it's about time we start putting ourselves out there a little bit more. So again, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Look at these custom signs. And I will see y'all in the next video. Next episode of Wyoming Zoo. Bye, y'all.